Hi there, welcome to this video. In this one here we're just going to cover some of the tools palette, and as I mentioned in the beginning, this is our tools palette here, and we have a stack of different tools in here. Now I'm just going to start right at the top, just going to quickly whiz through some of the different tools here, starting with the rectangular marquee tool. Now this is a selection tool, and we can use it to make selections, do all sorts of things. For example, here we can make a selection here of this lady's face. We can then say create a new layer. We could inverse that selection, and then we can fill it with a certain color. So if we wanted to fill it with a pattern, let's say we wanted to fill it with a pattern just like so. Oh, there you go, we've filled it with a pattern. Then we can reduce the opacity right down, or change the blending mode, to give it a certain look and feel. There's all sorts of things you can do, all from just using the rectangular marquee tool. Now I'll just get rid of that layer now, start again. We've also got an elliptical marquee tool, single row marquee tool, single column marquee tool. I'd suggest that probably the two most common ones you'll use will be the top two, the rectangular marquee tool and the elliptical marquee tool. Now we can do oval shapes. If we hold the shift key down, we can get a perfect circle, and if we hold the alt or the option key down when we actually do it, so if I hold the shift, alt or option, it'll create a perfect circle from the center point where we start dragging from with our cursor. And that is the same with the rectangular marquee tool as well. You can see we've got a square there. I'll just do that again. Perfect square starting from the center point that we started there. Okay, what I'm going to do now is actually just duplicate this selection onto a layer of its own, and I do that by pressing Ctrl J or Command J on the Mac, and you'll just see if I hide my background layer there, that is the selection that I just copied onto a layer of its own. Now with the move tool selected, this is the move tool, the top right hand tool here, I can actually move that selection wherever I like. Now you can't actually move anything that's on the background layer. The background layer is locked. You'll see the little padlock there, and that means then that it's a fixed layer and you can't actually move it. But layer 1 we can move that, so we can shift our selection here wherever we like around the image. Lasso tool, here's another great tool, which is another selection tool that we can use. Now if you make a selection and you want to add to that selection, if you hold the shift key down, you can then drag and draw and add to that selection. Now if you hold the alt or the option key down and drag, you can actually subtract. You can take away from that selection as well. So it's very easy to use to add or subtract from our selection there. Great tool, you use it all the time. Okay, and underneath that you'll see any tools that have a little black triangle on the bottom right hand corner of them. If you click and hold your mouse down, you'll see there are other tools underneath there. Under this one here we've got the polygonal lasso tool, and you'll see this helps us draw straight lines, and it gives us a selection then that way. So we click once with the mouse, then everywhere we click it gives us an anchor point, and then when we get back to our starting point there, you'll see it gives us a little tiny circle just under the tool there. If we click on that, that then gives us a active selection, as simple as that. Okay, and then we have our magnetic lasso tool. This one here is an interesting tool. It looks at the pixels that you're currently clicking and dragging around, and it adds its own anchor points wherever you're dragging, and it tries to match up closely the pixels that it's selecting around, so it tries to make the job easy for you. Okay, Now we've got our magic wand tool. This is a great tool, and once again in the options bar you'll find that you'll need to adjust your tolerance setting depending on what it is that you're doing, what it is that you're selecting, and the contiguous. This is the other important thing when using the magic wand tool. Contiguous, or you'll see non-contiguous. If you're using not contiguous, that means that the selection will select colors within a certain range anywhere within your image. If you select contiguous, it'll only select the colors that are within that tolerance setting that are actually touching each other. So there could be the colors, there could be pixels exactly the same color as the selection, but over here, but it won't select them because they're not actually touching any pixels that are related to the ones that are selected, if that makes sense. Okay, then we've got our crop tool. Crop tool is fantastic. You can use your crop tool to crop your image and so forth, so you can have a lot of fun with that. You can also use the crop tool to crop in reverse as well. So if you, for example, wanted to add a kind of a border to your picture, you can do that very easily with the crop tool. Then we have our slice tool. And the slice tool is good for web work. We've got our patch tool. This is a fantastic tool. Spot healing brush and a healing brush tool as well. Very powerful tools. I'll show you more in detail and give you some great examples of using them. A brush tool here, clone stamp tool, which is really great too. You just need to hold the Alt or the Option key down, and then you can actually brush away and sort of clone the pixels that you are working around. And you can see we can clone an extra eye in the middle of this lady's in between her eyes. And once again, if you adjust your opacity up to 100%, it'll do it exactly without much sort of blending going on. If you reduce the opacity right down, you can make very subtle changes. And also blending mode is great too. Lightening and darkening modes are great for using the clone stamp tool too. That'll be it for this video. We've covered quite a bit there in the first sort of half of the tools there. In the next one, we'll cover some more of the ones further down in the tool palette. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next video.